Thank you for joining me on the very first episode of Nextbiteoflife.com podcast for 2016. My name is Kem, and as usual, I'll be your host today. In today's episode, we're going to talk about why we decided to sign on for another year in Sevilla. Right now, we've been in Sevilla for about 11 months, and our lease is actually coming up for renewal in just a few days. It was a very easy decision for us to make as far as staying on in this adopted beautiful city of ours. Some of the reasons why we chose to stay another year is just that, one, Sevilla is just absolutely beautiful. It's hard for me to think of a place apart from Budapest, which I really loved as well, that the city is so inviting to me and feels comfy and cozy at the same time. I love the history that's all around us in Sevilla, from the rules of the Muslim rule, the Moors and the Almohad dynasty, with their fantastic buildings and the awesome architecture that's all around the city. It's just wonderful to just walk around and see things, and we're constantly discovering new places, and there are so many other places that we haven't discovered yet. There are little tiny streets that you just can't imagine how narrow they are, that you just want to explore, and you wonder what's at the end of them. It's so full of history, and I think we have just a lot more things to do before we can actually say, okay, we've been there, we've done that. So that is probably the first major reason why we're choosing to stay. There are also so many museums that we haven't gone to. Sevilla, you might know of as the hotbed of flamenco, and we haven't even gone to a proper flamenco show in this city. We've seen street performers and all, but we want to actually explore some of the culture, visit the Museum of Flamenco, which we've been meaning to do all this time. Every time we start to do something, we get visitors in, and then we kind of end up putting it aside and we don't do it. But I think another year here, we'll just be able to explore some of the things that we've been missing out on. There's so many neighborhoods like Macarena, Triana, Blas Infante. I mean, they go on and on. We want to see the characteristics of each neighborhood and see what they have to offer. Right now, we're in the suburbs, and we actually prefer living here, but it's always fun to go out to the city and discover more things. There's so many narrow streets, hotels, and, tapas places that are just all over the place, And so I think another year is definitely doable, and we'll just, right now we've barely scratched the surface, and I think we'll just keep on scratching more surfaces, so to speak, in the next year. The second reason is that there are so many cities that are close to Sevilla that we want to explore too, either on day trips or to take weekend trips that we haven't really done since we've been here. We've been going to a lot more countries. We've been traveling outside of Spain for the past year, places like India, and we want to focus more on Spain, like the backyard, so to speak. Often you live places and you always take it for granted, like, oh yeah, I can always go there and I can always go there, but then you end up not doing it. We don't want to leave without actually going to all these places. Cities like Santiponce, which we have been, and if you've been listening to the podcast, you know that there is one podcast on Santiponce that we did, and I believe we also did one on Carmona. They're both absolutely gorgeous places, but the list of future destinations for us just goes on. There are places that we still want to visit, like Cordoba, which has amazing, amazing architecture, and I just can't wait. And I hope to make that our next destination, actually, for a weekend or something. There's also Granada, which is only a couple of hours drive from here. We want to visit the Alhambra, The Alcazar of Seville is like the baby sister of the Alhambra. I would like to see it for myself and judge. I already love the one in Sevilla, and I can't imagine how much better the one in Granada is, but everybody says that you definitely have to go and see it for yourself, and so we'll go. I want to compare it to the one that we saw in Marrakesh, which, if you've been listening to the podcast again, you'll find that there is one podcast on Marrakesh, and if you need to listen to it or need to find it, you can just go on the website nextbiteoflife.com, and there is a section for the podcast, and you can listen to it and see how it compares to our Sevilla Palace of Alcazar. It's quite interesting. I love the architecture. I can't say enough about it and about how beautiful it is, and I want to discover that. Cadiz is also another seaside town that we want to visit. It's only about an hour drive from us, and even though it's so close, the whole past year we haven't gone there. And, the list just goes on and on. There is Jerez de la Frontera, which is very popular for wine in the region. And we want to sample some various Spanish wines. Right now we can get them in the stores for cheap. A bottle of really good Rioja is about €3, which is like $3.50, and I mean really, really good wine. So we want to see where they make them, and maybe check out some of the wineries around, and get some more wine. So we want to visit a backyard, and we want to see more places, and go local. The good thing about being around here is that the AVE, the train system, is really good for getting to a lot of these places. In addition to the ones that are close to us, we want to also revisit places like Madrid, which we really love, and we've been getting used to it because a lot of the international flights that we take actually leave from Madrid, so we have to take the train out there and then catch the flight. But we would like to explore it some more. Barcelona is also doable by train from here. We want to go to Bilbao. I mean, the list just goes on. Spain is just a huge country, and there's so much to see. So we want to experience that. We want to go to Valencia, which where we haven't been. It sounds wonderful. We want to go to places like Palma de Mallorca and the Canary Islands. Ibiza, if we get a chance to. I'm not really excited about that one because it sounds like it's more for young people, but sure, I'd like to go and check it out. So that would be kind of nice. It would kind of suck to leave and then have to come back to visit these places. We might as well take advantage of it while we're here. And so I think one more year will definitely give us the opportunity to visit some of these places that I've mentioned. The third reason is that Sevilla is awfully close to Portugal. We're actually about 90 minutes drive away from Faro in the Algarve region of Portugal. So we kind of want to do an epic road trip and just maybe put the dogs in the car and drive all the way down the coast through the Algarve region and go up to Lisbon just to see. It might be our next destination, Portugal. We've actually talked about it before because Federico wants to be by the water, and I think the Algarve region will just suit us fine with the kind of lifestyle that we need. We don't need like the big parties. We're past that age of wanting to party all the time, or we like things that are more normal. Finding good places to eat, a nice pool, a nice beach. We kind of like the relaxed kind of lifestyle that we've made for ourselves. So I think that section of Portugal would really suit us fine. So we're going to do an exploratory trip down there and see if we like it or not. So who knows? Next year we may be broadcasting from Portugal. Assuming we like it, of course. The other reason is that we like the town that we're in. Our little pueblo is quite comfortable for us, and it serves our purposes. We're located about 15 miles outside of Sevilla, and we love it. Sometimes, yes, I wish we were right in the city in the middle of everything and all the action. But then I realized that I really don't like the noise. There's a lot of tourists all the time. I really don't like the 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 feeling of tightness, like there's no space. I mean, it's wonderful, the history and all the narrow streets but yeah, the apartments are really close together, so you really, really hear your neighbors. I don't really like that. I like my space. The town we're in, it's just it's not sexy. It's a regular town with just average people, some of them working class that live in apartments, and some of them like really, really rich people with nice cars behind these huge mansions with gates on them. And so we like the mixture. We like taking our walks and saying hello to the neighbors. We like seeing the same two policemen every day, and saying hello sometimes. I mean, it's just that kind of a place that it's just a typical town in Andalusia, and I actually like it. And we like the wide open sidewalks. In the city, you get so much. The smell stays with you. It's not that it's necessarily a bad thing. You probably get used to it. But I hate the smell of dog pee, and nobody really picks up after their dogs. So you always constantly have to play the dodging game. And I don't like that. I like the space that we've got in the house. I like the fact that the yard is big enough for the dogs to wander around and do their thing. I like the fact that we've got shade in the summertime. We purchased a little grill, and we like to grill. We have our own ping pong table that we kind of like to play. So we've made a comfortable living, and we actually like the house, and we like we even like the church that we go to. So it's been kind of good, and I think we can definitely hang around for another year. It's no hardship. One thing I had wanted to do before was change the rental house that we were in. Not because I didn't like the house itself, but there were just a couple of things that bothered me about it. And I told Fede, we just need to leave. I just don't like it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, exactly what don't you like? Because you really like this place when we moved in. And he's like, just write down what you don't like. And after writing it down and giving it to him, I realized they were really, really stupid little points. I mean, really. And they actually were three things. We had no shower curtain in the bathroom. I mean, an easy fix. We had gotten one of those rod things, but it kept falling off. So I just threw it out. So every morning there's like water on the floor. And I had to mop it. And if you know me, you know that I really, really hate housework. So I didn't like that at all. My second problem was that the gas heater that was used to heat the hot, that we use for hot water, had this ancient ignition system. Basically, you had to turn it on manually, then wait 30 seconds for the gas to reach the heater, then you light it, and it always like stunk of gas. And we always had to turn it off as soon as you were done. So basically, I stopped using hot water for washing dishes and so on, because I really didn't want to do that every time. And it was such a hardship for me to do it every day, like when I took a shower. That was the second thing. And the third thing was that the mosquito nets that were on the windows were not really fixed to the windows. They were just lying against it. So basically, they kept out the mosquitoes and the flies. But unfortunately, in the summertime, there are those wall geckos, and they come in to the house. So far, I think in the past year, we've had at least 6 or 7 that I've seen. And I go crazy when I see them. I can't relax. I wake up Fede. I make him get rid of them, kill them, do whatever he has to do. And I run, I scream. I mean, it's just very traumatic for me. And it's, and he laughs because I'm from Africa. I'm from West Africa. I'm from Nigeria. There are tons of lizards and big, huge things that I hate too. And I do exactly the same thing whenever I go visit them at home. If I see one, I'm screaming and I'm yelling. And if I especially see one in the house, I react just the same. And people have to just do everything they can to get rid of it. I just don't like them. So those were my 3 things. And I wanted to move to someplace else. And Federico was like, okay, you realize these are like easy fixes. We don't need to move to somewhere because we like the neighborhood, and you want to move down the street. Pay more money because every single place that we saw was way more expensive than we're paying right now. And so he's like, why would you want to pay that much money? And not only that, we would have to put down another first and last month's rent plus 1 month's fee to the agent. We're going to be in it for easily $2,500, and it just seemed silly for something that we could even just fix ourselves if we didn't want to involve the landlord. So anyway, once I told him what they were, he went ahead and called the landlord and told him that we were willing to stay. We actually wanted to stay another year, but that those issues had to be addressed. And within a couple of days, he hired a handyman. They came and took the measurements for new nets on the windows, and they gave us a new gas heater that it's automatic, and you just, turn on the water, and within a few seconds it goes hot by itself. I don't have to do anything. And we have a new shower curtain and rod that's fixed to the wall, so my problems are solved. And I'm so glad. Usually I'm so hard-headed when I decide something. I'd already started looking at houses. We went to see a few, but we couldn't really find one that would like the price and that had enough privacy. They were all so tight and so close together, and the neighbors were basically looking in on you. And here there is just, we have the openness that we were looking for. So it just made sense for us to stay in this place, and I'm actually very glad that we did. Our rent is only $655 a month, and we have a 3-bedroom and 1-bath house. Everything around here, the minimum that we've seen is about $820, $850, up to $1,500, and a lot of them didn't even have the pools. Or they had like a community pool, which I didn't. To me, that's just no pool either, because I would never use it. So I realized that we were really lucky to find this place, and so it made sense to stay. So once we made that decision, we were okay with it. It was, like I said, a very easy decision to make as far as staying in Seville for 1 more year. At the end of the year, we'll look again, and as I say, we're slow travelers. We're not going to, a new country every second day or something. We have like 2 dogs and 10 suitcases of luggage. So we like to call ourselves really slow travelers. So there's all I have to say about our stay in Sevilla. I'm glad you joined me for this episode of Nextbiteoflife.com podcast. To get more information or to see more pictures that go along with this podcast, please go ahead and check us out at nextbiteoflife.com. Feel free to join our email newsletter so we can let you know when new episodes and new blog posts come on. I thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you, maybe not see you, but I hope to be back on a more regular basis with the podcast. Have a good week. Thank you.